Welcome to the Entrepreneur Gene. I'm your host, Laurie Barkman. Each week, we'll hear from founders and CEOs to explore key decisions they have made for growth, value creation, and challenges along the way. This show is sponsored by the Business Transition Sherpa, offering entrepreneur advisory services from transition to transaction. Don't forget to hit subscribe, follow us for the latest episodes, and visit thebusinesstransitionsherpa.com for more exclusive content. Let's dive in. Welcome, everyone, to the Entrepreneur Gene. I am Laurie Barkman. I am so excited to talk with my guest today and have you listen to this wonderful friend of mine. Before I tell you who it is, let me tell you a little bit about him. And he is a sales and marketing expert. In fact, he is my guru right now, and I'm so excited for what he's going to bring to the table today. He has years of experience in public speaking, motivating people. He's the author of 3 books on selling, speaking, and marketing. He's the founder of Appointment Agency, which helps initiate calls in the cybersecurity and MSSP industry. And he is the marketing mentor, coach, and founder of Do It Marketing. Please welcome to the stage, David Newman. David, welcome. I'm so excited you're here.
Hey, Laurie, thank you so much. This will be great fun.
Great fun. Right out of the gates, David, I have a question for you. Is there an entrepreneurial gene, and what is it to you?
So my answer to this question, if you had asked me 10, 15 years ago, I would have said, no, anyone can do this. This is just a matter of determination and blah, 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 blah. Totally incorrect. After doing this for 20 plus years and helping hundreds and hundreds of other entrepreneurs, there's totally an entrepreneur gene. And the best way I would summarize it is, and you either have it or you don't, and I wish it could be learned, but it can't, is the mavericks, the mavens, the rebels, those kinds of people. If that's in their DNA, then they're truly cut out for entrepreneurial success. And if they value security or stability or predictability more so than those 3 labels that I mentioned, then they do not have the entrepreneurial gene.
What do you think a maverick means in this sense?
I think so. All of those words, right? All of those words is someone who just does not fit the mold. So it's the misfits. It's the ones that always kind of look at the world through a little bit of a different lens, that they see what others can't, and they are perfectly happy to go against the grain, rock the boat. They're the, Steve Jobs had that amazing commercial about, it's the weird ones. It's the ones that don't fit in. It's the ones that dare to think that they can change the world. And those are the ones that actually do. And so, there's a lot of people that just, whether it's, pandemic or 9/11 or global recession, inflation, meltdown, terrorist war, whatever, there's a good number of people that are hunkering down and hiding under their desks. People with the entrepreneur gene say, okay, what's going on in the environment? And given this turbulence, disruption, upset, how can I help more people? How can I spread the message of what I do or what my company does so I can be of more value and serve more people and help more people, because they need it now more than ever. The other folks that are hiding under their desk, they're hoping not to get laid off. They're hoping the job cuts don't come for them in the next little bit of time. Those are the people that are just risk averse. They're clinging on to this concept of stability and security, even though we all know that a corporate employee can be fired at any time. Laurie, you and I are very, very, very unlikely to wake up one morning and fire ourselves. So I think that self-reliance is also part of the entrepreneurial DNA.
I love it. David, let's talk about challenges. What are you facing as a challenge today as an entrepreneur?
Well, I think you mentioned it in the intro, is that because I have the entrepreneur gene, I'm starting up all these different other businesses, which I think have legs, but I don't know. So if I were to label what that challenge is, uh, putting it kindly, it would be distraction. Putting it perhaps a little bit more kindly would be alignment, right? How can I take these various entrepreneurial ventures and align them under one roof so they actually make logical sense, not just to me, but to the world at large? So when I started out in my entrepreneurial journey, I threw so much spaghetti at so many walls. uh, I was the guy that had the 3 different websites, the 3 different business cards. I went to a networking event or I went to a conference, and I literally asked myself, "Okay, who am I today? Who am I in front of this group? Which of my services, which of my programs am I pitching?" The problem with doing that so early is, I think there's 2 kinds of entrepreneurs that have multiple businesses or multiple business cards. The first kind is totally hopeless, clueless, and broke. And that was me in the early 2000s, 20 years ago. And then there's the kind that I hope to be today, where they are a serial entrepreneur. They're founders of multiple different companies, or maybe a company that has multiple different divisions or product lines or service lines. And those people tend to be very, very successful because they saw a demand, they saw an opportunity, they saw a gap in the marketplace, and they say, okay, I'm going to do something adjacent, not open a hot dog stand on Fifth Avenue in New York City, but I'm going to take something adjacent to what I'm doing or related to what I'm doing and simply build a bigger roof. It's still the same house. It is still the same house, but it's got, maybe it's got, division A and division B and division C. In the coaching and consulting world where I live, the three divisions might be, I'm going to teach it to you, done with you, and done for you, right? Are those 3 related? Well, they are. Are they also different businesses? They sort of are, or they're at least different divisions of the same company. So I would say right now, as we're recording this, my 2 big challenges are avoiding distraction and pursuing alignment.
Yeah, wow. I think a lot of entrepreneurs can probably relate to that. And in your description there, David, you articulated another entrepreneurial trait from the visionary standpoint, that you're seeing all these opportunities in the market and you want to go get them. I think that's a very big trait for an entrepreneur. They have to have that vision. The other trait that I'll describe for what you're saying is, hey, I started this one thing and I want to start this other thing. That's the mountain climber. That's the mountain climber mentality. I'm going to go climb this mountain. I'm going to get to the top of it. And then, darn it, I'm going to go to the next mountain. And that's another really important common trait, not in everybody, right? Some people are craftspeople and they want to kind of do one thing for a very long time. I love the mountain climber mentality. I think that's amazing. And so I'm going to stitch that into your answer on the entrepreneurial gene. But back to this challenge, what's a piece of advice that you would offer to other CEOs or entrepreneurs who are facing the same challenge?
Well, so years ago, when I had the 3 different business cards and they were all, it was the spaghetti season of my entrepreneurial career about 15 years ago. Um, I had a mentor and I had all of these ideas, and it was idea after idea after idea. And the way that I process ideas is, let's make a logo, let's make a business card, let's build a website, let's see how it looks, which is really crazy. Folks that are listening, here is how to really start a new division of your business or a new product line or a new service line. Sell 10 of them. Sell 10 of them before you have a website. Sell 5 of them before you have a business card. Sell 7 of them before you go get a logo designed. So, lesson learned on that. But so this mentor said to me, when I had my latest crazy idea of the week. He said, "David, what you have right now is a beautiful 5-star restaurant. And what you're saying is, rather than improve the food in the restaurant, improve the service of the restaurant, upgrade the marketing of the restaurant, you want to open a hot dog stand across town." He says to me, "No more hot dog stands." So that became my mantra. That became our shorthand for the distraction and the alignment challenge. And when I came up with the next idea, and this was lasted a good 6 months or more, I would come up with something else and he would say, hot dog stand. And then I would come up with something else a couple months later. David, hot dog stand. Once in a while, I came up with a way to improve the restaurant, right? Not the hot dog stand, but we have this restaurant. How do we get more tables in the restaurant? How do we upgrade the food in the restaurant? How do we get better chefs on the team? How do we have world class service in the restaurant? How do we start to attract people in using the restaurant analogy? And I never had a restaurant, but it's a great analogy. How do we go from an amazing local restaurant to an amazing regional restaurant? How do we go from an amazing regional restaurant to a nationally recognized restaurant? How do we get on the list of the 50 best restaurants in the world? I think people like us that have the entrepreneurial DNA, we are fantastic starters. We're not really good maintainers. The maintenance part gets really boring, right? Maintenance, status quo, incremental growth. We love the hockey stick. We love build it, grow it, scale it, maybe exit, right? I know that you have this amazing expertise in helping folks grow, scale, and exit. Grow and scale to most of us is super exciting, right? Maintenance mode, exiting, that part is hard. That's why we need experts like you to say, hey, I built this amazing thing. No idea what it's worth, no idea how to sell it, no idea who would buy it. Laurie, can you help me? And so because we have this starter gene, think of the restaurant analogy that you're running this amazing restaurant. Start up new initiatives, start up new menus, start up new marketing for the same restaurant, start up new ways to increase and expand your reputation from local to regional to national to international. How can you have the world's best restaurant that specializes in exactly those dishes that you are already brilliant at cooking? And how do you upgrade the service team? How do you upgrade the kitchen team? There's a lot of things to start in any business. Even a mature business has things to improve, initiatives to start. So my advice and the learning that I'm doing for myself is start the initiative within the company that you're running to make that company bigger, better, faster, more profitable, more scalable, more saleable, if that's your goal. And don't start the hot dog stands.
I love that. It's too easy to get distracted, right? The squirrel, like, oh, look, squirrel, right? We got to stay focused. And for those of us that do get bored doing the same thing and having that same, if you've figured it all out and you're getting bored, more power to you, right? But chances are in our business, we can start something new, but making sure that you've checked in with the market to make sure that there are people who are willing to pay for what you're delivering is a solid, solid message. David, for the future, what excites you when you think about your industry?
Well, I think every industry is probably impacted by this, but maybe the consulting and coaching and training world more so than some others. It's artificial intelligence. So, all of these incredibly powerful, time saving, labor saving AI tools. There's been a saying ever since ChatGPT came out 2+ years ago that AI is not going to replace humans, but humans that use AI are going to replace humans that do not. And I think there is something to be said for that aphorism. I think because AI is advancing so quickly and starting to impact so many areas of business, from marketing to sales to strategy to hiring to everything. It's the world's smartest intern. It's the world's smartest rookie employee that you could ever possibly employ in your business. I just came back from a conference that had a lot of sessions about AI, and many of the speakers mentioned some flavor of the following reassurance. And it's funny because they had not seen each other's sessions. These were all breakout sessions. So there's no way that they would have heard each other's sessions. But they all said some flavor of, in the age of AI, the competitive advantage that you have both over your competitors and over AI is to be more human. Now that sort of set me back. I was like, "Whoa, that is so deep." So, because AI can crank out all of these amazing assets, video, images, text, articles, thought leadership. An AI could write your book with a few prompts. It could write your book in an afternoon. And writing a book used to be like a 6 month to 2, 3 year process. The concept of be more human, humanize your marketing, humanize your sales, humanize your outreach, humanize your client retention, humanize all of the relationships and all of the touch points that you have with your vendors, with your suppliers, with your customers, with your prospects. So at this point, strange as it may sound, in this age of hyper automation, hyper AI, the robots are taking over the universe, our last and final true competitive advantage is to be more human, to be more connected, to be more tapped into relationships, real relationships, not just commercial relationships like, hey, Laurie, you're my best friend. I can't wait to sell you something. But genuinely connecting with people out of care and concern and curiosity and wanting to be radically helpful and radically generous and radically relevant to what your prospects and what your whole industry might be going through, that the most human company is going to win.
Yes. Wow. Well said. So much there, David. Amazing. Getting us thinking about the tools that can not only help us be more efficient, but how to use them in a way that is absolutely human. So, the first half of this conversation, we have learned a ton from you, and thank you for that. Now, in the second part, I want to learn more about you. So, tell me, what's the David origin story?
Oh my goodness. This is a 3-hour podcast.
Yes, yes, 3 hours. Yes, absolutely.
Excellent. So I will try and summarize and compress the crazy as much as I possibly can. So I spent 10 years in corporate consulting, meaning I worked for large consulting companies. Under their banner, I did HR consulting, technology consulting, management consulting. Did that with 3 different companies over a course of 10 years. January of 2002, I get the harebrained idea to go out on my own. The thinking, I know how to coach. I know how to train. I know how to run a workshop. I know how to do big company consulting. How hard can it be? And Laurie Barkman, I found out how hard it can be, because as an entrepreneur, of course, it's not about doing the work. It was now about getting the work. So when I started out January 2002, I had no idea about marketing, lead generation, sales strategy, prospecting, none of it. And so I hit a lot of brick walls and a lot of dead ends. And I went for a long time without making any significant money. And then you start to have the entrepreneurial spouse conversation. Hey, honey, you think maybe you should just go back and get a job? Do you think, how about we go back? Because I had a beautiful 6-figure salary. I had bonuses. I had stock options. I had health care. It was amazing, amazing. So think of it, right? Mid to late 1990s, tech industry, management consulting industry. It was the land of milk and honey. And I go, no, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. So also January 2002 came very close after September 11th, 2001. So the whole world was spinning in crisis and the world had shut down and all kinds of other things. So we start to have the spousal conversation about, okay, well, how much longer do you think you're going to give this? And maybe you should just go back and get a job. So I realized I needed to learn about marketing. I needed to learn about selling. That wasn't my focus. That was the other problem, of course, is I didn't really have a focus. I was a generalist consultant and a generalist corporate trainer and speaker. So I really studied marketing and sales, and I just read a ton of books, and I hired some mentors who were amazing. And then I started to realize, wow, I must not be the only one that is struggling with this marketing and sales stuff. I don't really have a niche. I don't really have a specialization. But now that I'm studying this, I'm immersing myself in everything marketing, everything sales, everything business development. When you become a student of the game, you're like, wow, this is really fascinating. And then a friend of mine, we're having lunch one day and he's asking me all these questions. And I just had all of this knowledge in my head and I started sharing with him, marketing, sales, positioning, packaging, pricing. He stops mid sentence and he says, David, you should do this for a living. I said, what, eat lunch? He goes, no, no, no. You should help people like us figure out all the things that you spent 3 years working on and figuring out and studying and so forth. Laurie, I laughed at him. I laughed at him. I was like, that's a ridiculous idea. Entrepreneurs are broke. Entrepreneurs are hopeless. Thanks, but no thanks. I'm going back to all of my big corporate coaching, training, and consulting clients because I had deals with Microsoft and QVC and IBM and Bank of America and Merrill Lynch. And I had fantastic name brand clients. And he's saying, no, no, work with little pishers like me. I'm saying, no, no, I'm not going to work with little pishers like you. One day, I'm doing a local workshop here in the Philadelphia area where I live. And it was for an insurance company. And I walk in, and there's 20 grumpy faces with their arms crossed who did not want to be in that room. And I was like, wow. So I'm having lunch and breakfast and coffee with all my entrepreneur friends for free. And I'm having a great time coaching and kibitzing and giving them all my little gems and nuggets. These people in that corporate training room who did not want to be there, I literally had a blinding flash of the obvious. And I'm sitting in front of that room, standing in front of that room. And I said to myself, I am in the wrong room with the wrong people teaching the wrong thing for the wrong reason. They don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. And I'm really loving all of my absolutely free, non-business related coaching and mentoring and advice sharing with my entrepreneur friends. So literally that was the day that I start to dial back my corporate work and I start to formalize and work with the entrepreneurs, the solopreneurs. And at first it was one-on-one. And don't worry, the story's going to accelerate to the present day pretty fast here. At first it was one-on-one coaching. One-on-one coaching became group coaching. Group coaching became my first online course in 2013. 2015, I started doing the online course plus live mentoring because I realized people going through courses rarely complete the work and rarely get any result if left to their own devices. 2017, we crossed the seven-figure mark, and we've been there ever since and up from there. And so that's where we are today with we do some coaching and training, we do some done with you, we do some done for you. And that was the evolution of the business.
I love it. It's so cool that somebody pointed out to you, hey, here's a market opportunity. And you're like, no, you're crazy. And then the more you sort of explored it and realized there was a big energy there for you and a big opportunity from a market standpoint, you leaned in on it. You didn't say, no, I'm going to continue to do my hot dog stand. I'm going to go for this 5-star, get the Michelin star restaurant here. So that is super, super cool. Related to that, you mentioned mentoring a couple of times. You have had mentors in your experience help guide you and help shape your thinking. If you could be your own mentor and go back in time and give yourself some entrepreneurial advice, what would it be?
Early on, I was very resistant. I mean, now today, you're absolutely right. I'm a huge, huge proponent of mentoring, and especially people that are in the mentoring business, like you and I. We totally need to have our own mentors because otherwise it's kind of a disconnect as far as our values. Like, well, why should I hire you as a mentor if you've never hired a mentor yourself? So now I'm a huge fan. Early on, I was so stubborn. I was so resistant. I had probably an overdose of that entrepreneurial DNA that had me mistakenly thinking, I can figure this out on my own. I don't need help. I'm the pioneer. I'm the rebel, the maverick, the revolutionary. Revolutionaries don't seek out help. Well, of course they do. Of course they do. Right? That's almost the definition that mavericks seek out other mavericks and rebels seek out other rebels. That's how you have the rebellion. So thank you, Star Wars. We always need allies and mentors, right? Who would Luke Skywalker be without Yoda? So yes, the advice to answer your question to little David Newman, dude, get help sooner. And I don't mean paid help either. I mean mastermind buddies. I mean friends who are willing to support you. So I would have coffee with a very successful entrepreneurial friend, and they would kind of figure out that I'm struggling here a little bit. And they would say, David, how can I help you? What do you need? What would be helpful to you right now? And I would say, nothing. I'm good. I'm fantastic. I'm great. I was not good. I was not fantastic. I was not great. I was stubborn, and my ego was answering that question instead of my brain cells answering that question, because I shuddered to think where my business would be today if I had accepted help much earlier than I did.
take the help. Wow. Just even asking that question, what would be helpful to you right now? Such a great question. You can use it for yourself and you can turn that around and use it with the relationships that you're building with potential clients. So, really, really cool there. David, I
Yeah.
know that you are a very busy person and you have a glamorous, glamorous life. But what do you do? What do you do when you're not working? What do you do outside of work?
Well, my secret passion, which is not going to be a secret for much longer, Lori, because I'm telling you and telling all of our listeners, I'm a huge retro video game aficionado. And retro video game for you young kids listening, I'm talking about Atari and Nintendo and the PlayStation 1, Space Invaders, Pac Man, Asteroids. You know what I'm talking about. And we redid our basement a few years ago. And in the basement, one of the rooms is what I call our retro video game ultra lounge. And it has all the old consoles from the 1970s to the early 2000s, the original Atari, the original Nintendo. We've got Sega Genesis, we've got the original Xbox, all of those crazy things hooked up with 3 TVs, crazy lights, all kinds of things. So my man cave down there is the Ultra Video Gaming Retro Lounge.
I was a Atari household. We had the gaming console. And you know what's so funny? As I think back on that, my mom played it. She would get addicted to it. She would sit, we would come downstairs at like 11 o'clock at night. She's playing Pac-Man. It was just one of those things. Very old school. Love it. I love that you've admitted it. We have an exclusive. We have an exclusive, David, on that information.
That's the scoop.
That is the scoop. Um, this has been an amazing conversation. I know people are going to want to learn more from you. And we didn't even mention your podcast. Maybe you can mention, how do people connect with you, David? How do people learn more about your businesses and your podcast, all this amazing stuff?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So, yes, the podcast is called The Selling Show, and it's thesellingshow.com. And one of our amazing guests has been Laurie Barkman. So, make sure to look for that episode when you go over there. I'm going to give you the restaurant. I'm going to give you the main restaurant website address, which is doitmarketing.com. And we also have some free gifts and goodies, and there's a blog there. But the gifts and the goodies specifically, there is a Do It Marketing Manifesto that is a free download at doitmarketing.com/manifesto. And we also have our most current web training, which is online at doitmarketing.com/webinar.
Awesome. So people should definitely go check it out. Awesome goodies for free to help you on your journey getting improved sales and marketing. And I can talk firsthand that these are great, great tools. You should definitely talk with your partners if you have one, to have them check it out too. So David, thank you so much for coming on the Entrepreneur Gene.
This was so much fun. Thank you, Lori. Thank you. Thank you. And I can't wait to have you back on my show for another action-packed episode over there as well.
Well, invitation accepted. Thank you so much. It's always fun to have the mic turned on me. I really appreciate it. Hey, to our audience, thank you so much for being here today. If you've learned something or laughed, tell someone about this podcast. Thank you again, David Newman, for being on the show. And this has been another exciting episode of the Entrepreneur Gene. See you next time. Hey, that's a wrap. This show is sponsored by the Business Transition Sherpa, working with entrepreneurs who want to escape feeling like a prisoner in their own business and to eventually let go flawlessly. If you loved today's episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast. And if you want to help support the Entrepreneur Gene, I'd encourage you to leave a rating and review. Ratings and reviews truly help our show grow and get in front of more entrepreneurs just like you. If you do leave a rating and review, we'll be so happy. Take a screenshot of it, send it to my email, Laurie@btsherpa.com, and we'll send you a free digital copy of my book, The Business Transition Handbook. And we'll also enter you to win one of our monthly swag boxes. For show notes, including links to everything in today's episode, be sure to visit btsherpa.com. Also, as a reminder, you can watch this full video interview on our YouTube channel for the Business Transition Sherpa. While you're there, be sure to check out videos from our award-winning podcast called Succession Stories. We'll see you next time on The Entrepreneur Gene.